ETBU Sports Network, another edition of ETB Extra for the next hour, live from the Huffman Student Activities area on the campus of East Texas Baptist. We'll talk Tiger athletics and we'll talk Tiger football first. And Coach Joshua Eargle joins me. I just want to see if you're dry, Coach, because that game Saturday, wow, was that a wet football game at Ornelas?
Yeah, fortunately we are. I don't know if our field is yet.
Yeah, you look pretty dry, though.
Yeah, I'm good.
How wet was it out there for your players Saturday night?
Well,
actually, it was Saturday morning. We moved it to 11 o'clock.
Yeah, I think we got, we were lucky to get it in. I think we got almost 2 inches that day there at Ornelas. And Sunday was even worse after that. So that field's taken a lot of water here recently.
Tigers win this past Saturday, homecoming game against Belhaven by a final score of 46-13. And Coach, what kind of, well, a lot of things impressed me in the stat sheet, but one of them was the fact normally when we talk, we hear about how many passing yards the Tigers got. Mm-hmm. But wow, the rushing yards you racked up was 521 yards. Of course, you were led by running back Kendall Robinsons, who had 420 of those yards. What was, I guess, moving to the running game because it was wet was the plan?
Right. Well, I mean, going into the game, we knew we had to run the football to be effective, but we always want to be balanced in any attack week in, week out. And we've done a pretty good job of doing that more this year and haven't been one-dimensional as an offense. The weather, when everything started playing in that, and as the game progressed, that ball gets heavier and heavier and heavier. It gets harder to throw and harder to catch. And but I thought our offense did a good job of hanging on to the football and not turning the ball over. And then it turned to a run football game. When you turn a run football game, you got almost have two backs over 100. But Kendall had a very special day that day.
Now, your defense got to be pleased with as well because you only held Belhaven at 217 total yards offense. It appeared to me they didn't have as best of luck holding on the football as you did, but your defense played excellent. A lot of stops in the ball game. Yeah,
we continued the tackles for a loss and negative yards plays on defense, and I think that's a key for us week in, week out, whether it's rain or not. We've got to continue that up. We only had one turnover. The ball was on the ground a lot. We just didn't retrieve it and get it. But our young men, we've been working on that in practice a lot. We've got to get better and be a better turnover machine like we were earlier in the year on defense. If we want to be the type of defense that I think those guys want to be.
Well, Coach, with the win, you moved to 5-2 on the year, 2-0 in conference play. You know, at the beginning of the season, one of your things that you wanted to do was to improve the defense. Mm-hmm. I've asked this question before. I want to ask it again. How is the defense rating out for you being the defensive coordinator this year so far going into the next conference game against Sul Ross State this Saturday?
Well, as a head coach, you just want to see your team get better every week, and I think as a defensive coordinator, that'd be your same mantra. I mean, defensively, by no means are we playing perfect football or are we anywhere where we need to be, but we're getting better each week. We're getting better, and it's giving us a chance to separate those scores a little bit more. When defense plays well, offense is going to score their points every week. And we played great offense around here for 3 years now. But the better the defense does, the more in hand that game gets a little bit earlier, and we're able to put games away a little bit earlier if we play great defense.
Two excellent performances by two individuals in the football game. We already mentioned Kendall Robertson with his 420 yards on 33 carries and 5 touchdowns. He only averaged 12.7 yards per carry. And then Tyler Bates gets 1 touch on a punt return and goes to the house with it. And both of your players were named American Southwest Conference Players of the Week. Of course, Robertson for Offensive Player of the Week and Bates with the Special Teams Player of the Week. It's always good to be recognized by the conference that you had some individuals that did well. I
mean, on a weekly basis, those are the highest awards really to be recognized by. Our conference plays a tremendous level of football, and for the American Southwest Conference to recognize 2 of our players again this week, it's just it's a tribute to those 2 individuals and what type of athletic ability what a performance they put on, but also to their teammates. Their teammates did a lot to help them make those plays and have that type of day.
Of course, each week in a game, you like to highlight the Special Team Player of the Week. I got to assume it's Tyler, but I'm not going to assume that. Who got this week's Player of the Week for the Tigers as the Special Teams Player of the Week?
Without question. We used our defense a lot because of the nature of what the opponent was doing on 4th downs to get off the field on 4th down and to just get the ball back for our offense and use them kind of in a punt-safe type situation. We were able to get the punt team out there, or the punt return team out there one time on Saturday, and Tyler made them pay.
Well, Coach, after the ball game, just a lot of celebrating going on because it was just a wet game that had to move to 11 o'clock. And I was watching up in the press box and saw your players running and sliding in the mud, and I just saw you just shake your head. What were you thinking when you saw your players celebrating in the mud at Ornelas?
I really believe that was a really big key to the game. And as silly as that is, as much fun they were having in the mud, it was their mindset. And when they went into that game, they embraced all of that. And I really think we did that better than our opponent did. And we were able to adapt our game plan, able to stick with what was working. And, them just celebrating the mud and the rain and having fun at the end of the game is really just a byproduct of what they'd already made up in their mind 3 hours previous, that we were going to win that game no matter what the conditions.
Well, the home side of Ornelas, where the players are, it was just muck, total muck. And I saw the offensive unit go out there and start sliding. And then all of a sudden, I see Coach Lee Grimes do it as well. But I didn't see you do it.
No, I was trying to maintain my composure. But Coach Grimes, he does a great job with that offensive line, and they've been getting better each week also. And they're a big part of those 521 rushing yards. Obviously, they did a good job of pushing guys around when it was hard to get footing on that field on Saturday, and that's just a celebration. I mean, anytime you rush for that many yards and have that type of production, you need to celebrate it, and I think he's enjoying the moment with his young men.
Let's talk about the offensive line of the Tigers. Of course, a lot of question marks. Could they step up because a lot of senior leadership left last year off that line? You've got to be pleased with how they are progressing.
Absolutely. We just have one senior up there, Pat Griffin. He's been banged up the past couple of weeks, and so we had a young man, Bryson Parker, step in at center. And we really didn't miss a beat. I mean, that's two freshmen starting up there. You got Torrance Leonard is a junior for us. C.J. McGill at right tackle is a junior for us. And then Tyler Scott's a junior for us. So really, really blessed to have the athleticism we have on the offensive line. They do a great job of playing as a unit. I think that you add all those together, and they're much more potent. And that's what the offensive line's got to be. They got to know how to play together and just play as a unit more so than as individuals. And that's really sparked our offense this year. They're doing a great job protecting Josh back there in the pocket and giving him time to get the ball to Tyler in the receiving core. And he's doing a good job knocking holes in defenses. And so, those guys probably don't get their names said enough. And I try to brag on them every time I can, especially when we have an ASC Player of the Week, because they're not ever going to be ASC Player of the Week. But every time we have an Offensive Player of the Week get named to an award, it really goes back to them, because it starts with them snapping the football and protecting.
Well, Coach, let's talk about this week's opponent, Sul Ross State University. It's American Southwest Conference game. Your conference record is 2-0. Theirs is 0-3. You got to make that long bus streak. Tell me about the Lobos and what you're facing Saturday in Alpine.
Anytime you go play in Alpine, it's a tough game. And this Sul Ross team has gotten better every week. They did a good job last week of coming back and winning that game against an opponent that we lost to. And so we've got to bring our best game. We can't leave it here in Marshall. We've got to take it on that bus with us down there to Alpine. And, our distraction this week, or our obstacle to overcome this week, is that long bus ride. And that's something that Sul Ross hangs their hat on. I mean, it's the middle of nowhere. It's a long ways from everything. So we've got to handle that bus ride to the best of our ability and get those guys ready to play. And when that ball's kicked off, it doesn't matter where you're at. Once you step between those white lines, you got to be able to perform for the next 3 hours. And so it's going to be important for our young men to understand the adversity they're walking into. They're walking into a team that believes they can beat us. And, anytime you play an ASC team, they're playing to win. It's their homecoming. It seems like everybody wants to invite us for homecoming. We're undefeated this year on all our homecomings. And so we'll go down there and be the special guest this week again. And our guys need to accept it as a challenge. We need to go down there ready to play. If not, then, Sul Ross will step up and beat us.
As you met this week with your coaching staff, what are the keys to the game for the Tigers to be successful Saturday against Sul Ross?
We had a good talk about it yesterday before practice, and first and foremost, we can talk about different things we have to do scheme-wise, but really first and foremost, we've got to win the turnover margin this week. Sul Ross has been a defense that's been very opportunistic, and they've been taking the ball away from other teams extremely well all year. So we've got to be able to hang on the ball offensively, and then special team and return units. We cannot allow a short field for our defense or a quick score by the opponent. And then defensively, we started off really well creating turnovers. The past couple of weeks, we've just had one each game, and that's not our goal. That's not our standard. And we want to try to create 3 every game, regardless of the opponent. That gives us our best chance to win. And so if we can win that turnover margin, if we can take care of the football and we can turn it over and get it back to our offense as many times as possible, that's going to be the key this weekend.
Coach, last question. I'll go back to Kendall Robinsons' performance Saturday against Belhaven. 420 yards by a running back. How special is that in college football?
Well, just in the history of the college football game, it's the 8th best game by a running back in the history of college football. All right, since they started playing a long time ago. So it's pretty special. You don't see that very often, and he did that all in 3 quarters. Playing in the conditions we were playing in, we felt like that was enough. The score was enough. The game was in hand. The ultimate goal is to win a ball game. And I think we did the right thing there. But that's the sixth best rushing performance by a Division III football player. That's the eighth in the history of the game. And last year there was a big publicity going around college football because on consecutive weeks the single rushing game was broke by a guy from Wisconsin. I forget the next one, but that was all over ESPN and everything. Well, Kendall outrushed them by several yards. So it is a very special day. We're very proud that he plays for us.
Matter of fact, it got some attention from Fox Sports 1. They asked you for permission to use your highlights. And, of course, I know what your treatment back was. Yes, go ahead and use them.
No doubt.
Well, Coach, thank you for your time today on ETBU Extra. Best to you and the Tigers as you travel to play Sul Ross State this Saturday at 1 p.m. And you can listen to the game right here on the ETBU Sports Net. When we come back, we're going to talk to two players from the ETBU Tiger football team. First up, we'll go ahead and visit with Kendall Robinson. And after we visit with Kendall, we'll visit with Tyler Bates. It's all next on ETBU Extra.